someone, I get nervous. Like not this situation, but if I have to go sit in front of the ABC News and talk about a house fire, right? I'm in LA. I'm not nervous, but I don't want to say the wrong things. And then sometimes you do, you have these slips or you want too much to convince someone of something. And I think it's important, like people had to have the in this piece and in any piece, they have to have room to breathe. There has to
Hmm.
be trust in the conversation. People are going to say the wrong things. People are going to make mistakes. They're going to say space. They're going to say stars and planets. And I think a lot of times you have to go back and like try to find the agreement. Like, what do you think those words mean? Because in a lot of ways, you go to like the legal system, at least in most places, works off of a language that's not the English language, right? Legalese and Black's Law Dictionary defines certain things differently. So you apply that to anything, you really have to, at the base, find out what someone's trying to say and what they mean by the words. Because then you can have an agreement on what the words mean. And I think you have better context on the conversation at hand. So that's important for me in this piece. It's important with Sam, my editor, as we're going through it, is like I want people to look their best because there's moments where they are their best. And the camera may not have caught that. So we got to find the moments where they are and we got to present their ideas the best. And it's not important for me to have this moment at the end of the doc where it's like, look, we win.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
map is done.
That's also one I wanted to ask.
It's a lot of excuses from a dude with a pretty extensive IMDb profile. I think it said he had 12 different acting roles and 24 movies that he's worked on. And yeah, man, it's looking like this dude is like probably a legit crisis actor after hearing him talk about ABC News and got to go talk about a fire and you mess up your lines and um, like this stuff. These people just write their own like their own conspiracies about themselves. Like it's really funny, and I can't believe that Flatzoid didn't like catch on to the love bombing. And I mean, I'll keep playing more clips, but it's pretty obvious that he got their guards down or something is going on with that whole interview. That was really strange. And yeah, it didn't seem like anybody was listening to what he was saying. And I don't know, it was really painful to listen to. Like it really, I'm like embarrassed for this guy, and I can't believe that anybody would like take him seriously and think he is actually a real flat earther, sounding how noobish he was sounding about literally everything he talked about. But yeah, we'll keep listening.
You're led to
Sorry.
believe.
When did you start looking into flat Earth? Are you newer or are you old like me since around 2016-ish? Or are you a young
Yeah,
kid now?
2015 was my first Facebook post. The Earth is flat. My friend Jonathan, he sent me a website, and I was like, "This is crazy." I was into like conspiracy, all the big things since like 2001, but I didn't even hear about this, right? And so I look at it as this site, and the first thing that really made me question it, and it took me like 6 months of chewing on it to be like, what the fuck am I looking at here? Was the pictures of the original NASA photos of the blue dot or the blue whatever they
The
called
Blue
it.
Marble, yeah.
Yeah, the marble, because there's like weird things about it, and I'm
I've never heard anybody say when they're asked when they got into flat Earth, where they say my first flat Earth post was 2015. Like that's such a weird thing to say. It's kind of like you know calling your mom and using your first and last name. Like it's weird. Like and it's super easy to fake a Facebook post too. So I don't know. It's pretty strange to also call the blue marble um, the blue dot, like blue ball, I could understand, but the blue marble was pretty big back then, and there's kind of no way for you to mess that up if you've really been around since
what I
2015.
believe is like I actually believe it's probably not good to make claims because anytime you make a claim, everyone just wants to jump down your throat about it. I think you should make questions, because then you can have people jump down your throat and try to answer the question, but there's nothing wrong in questioning it. So, like, am I a flat earther? Am I a round earther? I still question both of them, and that's what I'm getting on these live streams doing.
So, what is your favorite? What would you say is your favorite thing you would take away from this whole TFE experience?
This right here. My favorite thing is like having a platform and people welcoming me to be the person that gets to ask more questions and figure out, like there's a responsibility now that
So your favorite thing isn't actually seeing the 24-hour sun and its magnificence and beauty and all that bullshit. It's doing the live streams of Flatzoid after the fact, right?
the other day I was at UPS mailing like 5 things. One of them was stuff from the shoot, but one of them was a light meter. And it was wild because like the guy behind the counter, not the one helping me, we're talking about the light meter. They're like, "Are you a photographer?" I said, "Yeah, I shoot a little, but I'm a cinematographer and like a filmmaker. Just did a documentary." And the guy's like, "Oh," he's like, "I know you from somewhere." And I kind of going more into the story. I'm like, "I was in Antarctica," and he's like, "Oh, that's it." He's like, "You were with those guys that went to Antarctica." And it was wild because I've been in this business so long. I've been in people's projects, friends' projects a lot. And you never get recognized, or people never are like, "Oh, I've really seen your work." And in that moment, like now the guy behind the cash register that is checking me out, he's like, "Oh, yeah, we were all talking about this. That's like the flat earth thing where the guys went there and all." You're like, "What's the deal?" And so to answer your question, it's like I guess it depends where you're getting your information and who you're talking to. What I'm seeing is more just because I'm more dialed in. I'm seeing more people wanting to have the conversation. I'm seeing a lot of people still undecided. When I started to look at some of this stuff before we went, like the flight paths, I'm sitting in bed like a day before, 2 days before we fly out. It's late. It's like 3 in the morning. My wife's like, "What are you doing? Go to bed." And I've got my laptop and I've got Photoshop open and all these like continents are like, I'm trying to like move them around. I've got a little ruler and I'm like, how the fuck do you get from Sydney to there quicker without going through Los Angeles on a flat earth map? Unless I have to find this. Is it perspective? Is it the size of Australia? I'm
Yeah,
struggling with those things.
You cannot convince me that this dude has been in this since 2015 and is only right before he goes on this trip looking into flights not making sense. Like, no, I'm not buying it.
well,
So
the
stop.
sky was very interesting. I mean, did you catch any of the footage where the sky actually, became dimmer around the edges or anything, or is it like with Dave
I think
McKee's
that's the
fade blue?
I think that's their 360 camera, just in like the stitching. It's not a perfect system. It's two bubbles.
Yeah,
I didn't see anything like that, but also I wasn't too. I mean, I've only seen people have kind of released. Like I said earlier, I haven't been digging into conversations they have, watching other people's videos because I don't want to get distracted. I just want to know what people have said that's in my head. So as I talk to my editor and look at footage, I'm confident of what we experienced. So I can like use that to guide the story and then build the bigger pictures around these ideas further for the audience.
yeah.
Um, but
But
I'm
I have to.
pretty sure that was the camera that did that.
Yeah.
Let's listen to that last part again really quick. It's really strange
I
what
don't
he
want to get
says.
distracted. I just want to know what people have said that's in my head. So as I talk to my editor and look at footage, I'm confident of what we experienced. So I can like use that to guide the story and then build the bigger pictures around these
Who
ideas.
said that camp were empty? What kind of stupid person said that? You know what I mean? And it's him on video quoted saying it. Look,
Yeah.
camp's empty while he's going around with his camera. You know what possesses a man to say
The
such
the
a
thing
thing?
the
You
thing
know what I
about that,
mean?
I think, yeah, I think the camp was empty when we first got there because it was all the Antarctic marathon people like kind of left before they were at the hotel before us. We talked to one of them. Um, and so they got on a bus like a couple days before us. I was there four
They don't
days.
just fly to Antarctica, drop people off, then take off empty. Doesn't make any sense. It's very
Right.
expensive.
So there
Okay,
must
so
have been
you
more than
understand
one
that
plane
when
for you
you
to be
claim,
able.
why would
So
there
there must
have
have
to
been
be
more
more
than.
than one plane?
because there was already runners in Punta Arenas because you interviewed them, and then you went to Antarctica, and the people got on the plane to go back. I don't know why we're spending so much time on this. It's not that big of a deal. There was clearly more
No,
than one
this is a
plane.
perfect
It's not a
example
big
how
deal.
you just
It's not.
aren't
It's not a perfect
particularly
example.
competent. No,
It's a perfect example of how you want to waste time on something after I just said, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was 2 planes. Maybe there's an explanation, but you want to just sit on this
no,
topic
there
for
doesn't
some
need to
reason
be
and talk
two
about definitions
planes.
or something next.
No one's talking about definitions.
One of the people that were there to go run a marathon while we were still in Punta Arenas, because many of them stayed in the same hotel that we did. And I actually have an entire interview with one of the guys telling him about Flat Earth. That Jonathan, the documentarian guy, actually recorded, and we were mic'd up. I tell him, like, I didn't just go take pictures with them. When we went to Antarctica, we get off the plane, and then they had brought in the marathon group, right, as they were bringing us back towards the camp, because they got on the plane that landed taking us. The marathon runners got on that plane and left, right? So they were there right before we got there. But I did meet some of them in the hotel. They were all in the same hotel. I talked to a few different marathon runners. So there's that.
On a side note, in that same conversation, he denied saying that it took 18 hours. He said it took 18 hours before he got the Wi-Fi. He says, I never said 18 hours. So another lie. Jonathan also says somewhere in here that he doesn't have a platform. But here, look at this. He was commenting on some of my comments on it, defending himself, even though he claims that he doesn't care. He's like, a duck, just let the water roll off of your back because these things, whatever. But he's hot in the comments defending his shit right now. And yeah, he claimed he didn't have a platform, but 35K subscribers doesn't seem like not a platform to me with 252 videos. Like, I don't know, man. These freaking actors can't keep their stories
I think everyone
straight.
should just, truth doesn't fear investigation. Everyone should be happy that we went down there. I will just say it wasn't easy for us.
We went down there and it wasn't easy for us. Well, he's supposedly in Antarctica right then and there. I know some of you guys have seen this. It's like repeat, but I just had to reiterate that part.
I think they didn't try attempt to do another 24-hour live stream of the sun though, once it failed.
They did. I'm pretty sure they did. From what I understand, that was kind of they tried to the whole time. I think the phone was having issues, which ultimately ended their live stream early, I guess, with the phone when Will did, or
Yeah,
it was Rumble maybe.
Yeah,
Rumble only had like a 10-hour time limit, or YouTube, you could only do 12-hour
it
streaming.
ended. Yeah, on Rumble it ended at 12 hours. But the thing is, they took the video down afterwards. They didn't leave it up there, and they didn't try attempt to do another one afterwards. So everybody found that also very sus.
Jaron brought up we had a conversation with Will and the ALE staff where they wanted to ask us questions. They were like flat earthers. Someone even posted Instagram, Twitter videos of us and was like, these guys are flat earthers here. How stupid are you? Or something like that. So Will,
notice how he gets busted lying, saying, oh, they did try and redo other live streams. Like, I'm glad that Flatzoid at least said, hey, no, they didn't. And they took that one down, and he just starts talking about something else that doesn't really address it and just, move along. Nothing to see here. We would have all seen notifications if they were actually posting stuff or trying to go live. We would have seen that. So,
this trip's happening, and good or bad, like you just don't know strangers sometimes.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of that. Like I have a lot of like suspicion as my nature. I think my contrarian beliefs, a lot of our
You
contrarian
sort of saw
beliefs.
like red flags, like some of the things you said on your live stream. Because you probably watched that stream we had going through it.
Yeah, I watched that one. Yeah.
Would you have any answers for those things we were like talking about?
Of course, yeah. Ask me again, just to be specific.
ask me again, because even though I just said that I watched it, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Again, just to be specific, but
Like when you were talking about the planet,
yeah,
you referenced Earth as a planet. Would that be considered a flat Earth thing?
Can I just add to that?
Yeah.
Like, we could forgive him saying planets, but you mentioned something, and I'm Michael, by the way.
Michael.
You mentioned like something about curvature, like it's not been. You've not seen no evidence of no curvature, or something along them lines. I'm paraphrasing. Now, was that a slip at tongue, or are you under the
Definitely.
impression that there is observable or measurable curvature?
Not getting on calls like as I have been since.
Yeah, he just carries on changing the topic, chopping it up to a slip of the tongue, and it's just embarrassing.
Research, the experiments, the friendships, the camaraderie that kind of happens in those situations. I think that's more entertaining. And I think that opens up a conversation more for this sort of stuff.
Chat Roy says, how much did they pay him to go down and film?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. We're over budget.
Yeah, well,
We
I
have
mean,
some
he had
work.
to
We have a
pay
lot
for
of
your
work to do.
ticket as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to go. Look, I wanted to go and this isn't a situation where I like put in a bid where I'm making my fair rate for my time I've spent now since I don't know, whenever before we left from Thanksgiving in America till for 4 more weeks at least. Um, putting time into this full time. I do other projects, little small clients here and there. So I knew I could sustain while I did this project. I really wanted to go, really wanted the opportunity to tell this story. Thought it was extraordinary, exceptional. I think more pieces will come from this. Maybe someone will want me to go to the Arctic after if I do a good enough job. Um, um, I think people will continue to hire me for other projects after a project like this. It's just it's
good
interesting.
exposure. It's good exposure.
And it's good exposure. I mean, I'm loving the stuff with the community because I actually care about this. It's not.
Yeah, he actually cares about this stuff. He actually cares about the community. He's loving it, even though he admits that he hasn't been active in the community and he hasn't been paying attention to a lot of things and watching a lot of stuff and can't remember names of famous photos that supposedly turned him into a flat earther. And I think he's taken over for Jaren. He's probably, they need to fill in those shoes, and he plays a good politician, playing both sides, not really taking a stance, trying to, play that shilly role. He's doing a good job so far.
They make money off the Gleason's map, so they can't lose that. Dave Weiss
It's
has it
okay
on his app.
It's okay for people to make money. I think that's
Able to
okay.
document the storm rolling in or something.
Yeah, I got a time lapse of that or like a long exposure. And I walked around and filmed it. I walked around and filmed with my little handheld camera. I set up my my time stop motion, the DJI action cam to get like cool time lapses. That was in my
Nice.
here's a couple of more
There we go.
on the back of my passport. Is that backwards to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mirrored,
Yeah.
but don't worry. It's mirrored,
Okay.
but it doesn't matter.
Wait, look at this.
Yeah.
I keep a lot of shit. Is there
So
anything
I asked,
personal on it?
so did you get any stamps flying to Union Glacier from Punta Arenas?
I did. Punta's from Union Glacier. Oh yeah, I got the Antarctica stamp. We all were able to get.
Awesome. There you go, guys.
And then let's see, where did I put that?
I mean, whether they went or not's never been our contention anyway.
Yeah. You guys definitely went. No doubt about that. I don't doubt that. There it is. Woo. Fisas.
I just want to ask you a question.
First time saving a plane ticket ever mattered in my life.
Yeah, and a month and a half after the trip, we finally see tickets and passports and things. Like, yeah, no, not buying it. It's not hard to fake things like this. I don't know why they think we're that stupid that, like, some CIA agents or whatever three-letter agency they belong to wouldn't be able to print up some boarding passes and a passport. And, like, I did get corrected. I guess, who is it? One of the guys his last name starts with an M. Forget his name right now. But anyways, one of the Globers apparently showed his passport, but the date was wrong on it, or there was something that was wrong with it. I don't know. I have to look into that some more, but or go find the picture of it. But either way, like I'm sure someone will look at these and find something wrong with them also.
I think flat Earth and round Earth need to be doing that more because that's life, man. People go to court over shit every day because they're both claiming the baby is theirs. One
Yeah.
person doesn't mind cutting the baby in half because they're like, cut it in half, I'll get my half. And the other person's like, no, no, let her keep the baby because it's a baby. And like, I don't want the baby harm. So might as well have the illegitimate mother have the baby, then cut the baby in half. You're going to win the baby every time because you're looking out for the kid in the most important conversation, the one right now. But if you're
Well,
protecting
John,
truth, have the conversation. The truth is the baby.
I agree.
yeah, that's what we're trying to educate Globers on, Jonathan. They don't know what science is for the most part. The pseudoscience they push is the problem. Like critical think, that's pseudoscience. That's not a scientific method he's walking through, and
Can
they
I
don't
challenge you
follow
for
it.
a second? Is that a
Sure.
claim? Are you claiming that? Because then the
Well,
burden of proof is it's my
well,
point is this. My point is I'm not trying to debate you. My point is more like ask the questions, present the questions to like that debunk what you're thinking and let him come to those conclusions, which is more like, hey, is this pseudoscience because, and then say why the question, like, why is that pseudoscience because it's not
Well,
considering everything?
define pseudoscience.
yeah, there
Right.
you go.
Define pseudoscience,
I'm,
define real
well, I don't
science.
need to. I know what it is. I'm
Yeah,
asking
we know what
you.
it is. Yeah, we're asking you.
He's taken a page out of Witset's book, trying to teach them how to waste time playing the definitions game and giving them advice on how they should be just asking the questions. And here's how to waste your time the proper way.
Questions and less trying to cut the baby in half at times, save the baby at all times, truth.
I don't understand why he keeps talking about cutting a baby in half. Like, I think that's super weird. Um, I left that in the comments and he responded with, oh, it was a King Solomon quote or whatever. But it sounded like he said that people go all the time, go to court and fight over who gets what side of the baby, which, like, that went totally over my head. If you're quoting scripture, you did a really poor job at it. It reminds me of Witsit LARPing as a Christian to get those Christian bucks, but then going and debating Adam Green and like completely looking like a fool, like he doesn't even know his own arguments. So yeah, I'm not buying any of this stuff, but yeah, you use your own
That pissed
discernment.
me off. And being there, you can't see the screen. You can only see. I just made sure I kept looking and seeing. Oh, it's lined up to the sun. It's lined up to the sun. It keeps the sun perfectly in the middle of the frame, but that makes you lose the horizon. So that's kind of upsetting. So anyway, these are all the files here as you go through. I had to send the camera and the card back to the owner, not the owner, but the owner of the company, because he thought maybe there was something in the logs that he could figure out, but he just said he doesn't know. He thinks maybe the power got cut, which doesn't make any sense. I told him that the box that I had that was powering both the mechanism and the camera, the mechanism turned the whole time. So he's like, oh, well, maybe there's batteries in it. I'm like, no, there's no batteries. It can either be battery or plugged in. You can't have both because you have to remove the battery pack in order to plug it in. So I said, so it had no batteries and it worked the whole time. So the camera should have been on the whole time. And it kind of was. It just got black screen for some reason. I don't really know what the reason of that is. But so anyway, it's a decent, I don't know the total. I think the total is like 18 hours, 19 hours.
Interesting. After a month and a half of asking for Jaren, where is your footage, he finally gives us just a snippet, and it just so happens to be missing like a bunch of stuff. And yeah, and up in the air and all these things, all these excuses that was out of his control, I'm sure. But I feel like if he would have come out with this sooner and been transparent, it just reminds me so much of the gyroscope ordeal. Like 2 years later, we finally get data and stuff from Bob. Like, I mean, I know it's not 2 years, but a month and a half is a long time when everybody else dropped their stuff like almost immediately. And You know, I mean, and it's not like he's even dropped it. He just showed us a clip on a live stream. So I wonder if he's actually going to be somewhat honest and drop all of it for us to see, or if he's just going to, you know, keep playing that he's a glober now and he doesn't care about flat earthers, even though they've been supporting him for 10 years, and just continue to talk down on people that are actual critical thinkers, because that's all that these people know how to do now is, you know, hate and judge on people for doing the thing that they've been milking the community for, you know, a decade. So we'll see what happens, but yep, I'm done for now. Toodles.